Get all the news and controversy of the NFL right here on the Blitz Zone with your hosts, Eric Rosen and Jamie Hickson, as they discuss the hot topics concerning your favorite players and team, the winners, the losers, the big plays, and the big hits from around the league. Right here, only on the Blitz Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thanksgiving Week 12 edition of your favorite NFL and college football program, the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Rosen, and I'm coming to you from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. As you know, I mentioned Thanksgiving earlier. It's a very important holiday for me and hundreds of millions of Americans out there this time of the year. And why is it so important? It's not just the parade, which, of course, you can watch on NBC or CBS from Macy's. Not just the food, the enormous quantities of turkey, mashed potatoes, and all the fixins that you can eat and indulge on, but it's being with your family, your close ones, your friends, and just, thinking about all the blessings and all the things that you have in your life, and all the work that mom has to around the house. But truly, just, thinking about reflecting on the entire year and just saying, I'm thankful for having this or that in my life. For me personally, I am thankful for my parents, my mom and dad, who have been there for me every step of the way, for my brother who has supported me in every way that a big brother has, and for all the times when I've nagged him and all that he's been there for me. But I love you, bro, and I'm so happy. By the way, he's the first lawyer in my family. Yeah, he just passed the bar exam, so I'm grateful for him and all that he's done for my life and for his. He's just a great person. And for my friends, my very close friends who've been there with me, for the Titas and the Morettis, who've been like a second family to me, and have opened their home and their lives with open arms and to me and been very supportive of me. To my coworkers at Eden 2, Jamie, Lori, and Sue, and Eileen Hopkins, and Roe, to all my people at Eden 2 have been a very good friend to me. I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for my job. I'm thankful for my life, and thankful that every week I get to bring you football. It's a pleasure talking about this game. It's one of my favorite sports in the entire world, and the fact that I get to do this every Friday is just an honor and a pleasure. So during this time of year, just take a moment before eating, before watching football, just to reflect on all the things that you're thankful for all the blessings, and to think of those other people out there, and to see, maybe donate a coat, Toys for Tots. If you see a Salvation Army tin, maybe a buck or a few pennies, whatever you decide to do. Just on this very day, let's all reflect on all the blessings and all the good things that we have in our lives. Now, let's get into some football and some news of the week. But before the news, I'd like to introduce a new segment for you. In the immortal words of the bard, William Shakespeare, from his play Hamlet, the main character said, and I quote, "To be or not to be? It is the question." Well, in this segment, to coach or not to coach, it is the question. And this year, I got 11 coaches that I don't know if they're going to be there in 2018 or receive a pink slip on New Year's Eve, or brutal or hell Monday, as they call it, or manic Monday. Well, anyway, Adam Gase, the head coach for the Miami Dolphins right now, this season has been a bit of a tailspin. Their offensive coordinator gets let go for snorting a powdery substance caught on video, highest paid in the league. They had a linebacker goes AWOL. They just let go of Ray Malaga after a battery charge assault. Their running game is terrible, personally, in terms of the team. They've lost their last 4 games, 3 of them on prime time, and one in an embarrassing fashion. And the quarterback situation is no better. Whether you have Jay Cutler, who had 3 interceptions in their 30-20 loss against the Buccaneers, or Matt Moore, who has a great performance one week and has a pitiful one the next. Everything, and trading JHI. So I don't think he will be coaching next year. Todd Bowles from New York Jets, 4 wins on the year? Are you kidding me? Considering they've had many games which they had double-digit leads in the fourth quarter, questionable plays on fourth down. Honestly, Todd Bowles and his anemic way of looking at things, I think, bye-bye. Marvin Lewis, the second longest tenured coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. See you later, alligator. No playoff win since 1990, and this year they're just in survival mode, and they have one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. Hugh Jackson, 1-25 in 2 years with the Cleveland Browns. Sayonara. Chuck Pagano with the Indianapolis Colts. There's some of it is his fault, and others through no fault of his own. With Andrew Luck's shoulder surgery he had in January, his inability to come back from that. Jacoby Brissett can only do so much. When you have an offensive line that can't protect you, when you have receivers, when you have a running game that is hit and miss, and a suspect secondary, you can only do so much. But Chuck, honestly, is going. Bill O'Brien for the Houston Texans might get a reprieve because of Deshaun Watson. Then we got Vance Joseph in his second year with the Denver Broncos. John Elway, the GM, calling the team soft. Well, I guess because of the 6 losses they've had in a row so far, the worst skid in 27 years, and soon to be 7 when they face the Oakland Raiders, I say he's going to be a goner too. I keep calling him McAdoo, but it's McAdoo, whatever his last name is pronounced, for the New York Giants, gone. This year has been a total failure for the Giants in every way, offensively and defensively. The fact that they won this past week against Kansas City, to me, was a little bit of a fluke. They were lucky that that Kansas City couldn't perform well on offense. John Fox in Chicago, great top 10 defense, but a pitiful offense. Even Trubisky this past week, he can do only so much, but it was the kicker's fault for not getting the game-tying field goal against Detroit. But other than that, every other game has been hit and miss. Dirk Cutter in Tampa Bay, not going to exist after this season. And Bruce Arians, that Cinderella story in Indiana that propelled him to this job in the desert, well, the proverbial pumpkin will be coming into fruition because he will be let go. And that's all the coaches. Now, in some sad news, we lost somebody in the NFL family by the name of Terry Glenn, the former wide receiver who's played 12 years in the NFL, 6 with the Patriots, in which he appeared in Super Bowl 31 in the losing effort against Green Bay, 5 with the Dallas Cowboys, and his last year with Green Bay. Fortunately, lost his life this past Monday due to a one-car collision accident off of East Highway 114 near Dallas, Texas, at 1 o'clock in the morning, according to the coroner's office. His fiancée was in the car with him at the time. She suffered minor injuries. Her name hasn't been yet released by the media. However, he unfortunately lost his life. And it's a really sad day considering what he's done for the league. He was a sixth overall pick in the first round of the 96 draft out of Ohio State. Had 4 seasons of 1,000 yards, 2 with New England, 2 with Dallas, and for his career over 8,800 receiving yards and 44 touchdowns. He was a special player. And by the way, if Jeopardy ever has the question, who was the first person to get a Tom Brady touchdown, he would be the answer to that question. My prayers, my thoughts are with the entire Glenn family, their teams, and their fans, and of course, we're thinking of you, Terry. So, all right. In some other news, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, their right tackle Marcus Gilbert just got handed a 4-game suspension for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy. He is not going to appeal his suspension. He's eligible to return for the Steelers after December 18th, which is the day after their big important matchup with the New England Patriots at Heinz Field, which will likely be a Sunday Night Football game. So on top of the 4 games he's going to be missing this year, he already missed 3 games earlier with hamstring issues. He's a huge, important part of that right tackle that right side of the offensive line with right guard David DeCastro. Let me get a little drink right now. Refreshing. Now, for the rest of the year, they're going to have to go with Chris Hubbard and Gerald Hawkins to try and replace Gilbert, which is going to be a lot to ask of these individuals, especially this coming weekend against the Green Bay Packers and for the game against New England later in the season. This is about the third suspension in as many years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You look at Le'Veon Bell, who was suspended in 2015 and 16 for several games. The same thing, Martavis Bryant, 4 in 2015 and all of last year. So hopefully I'm sick of when these players violate the rules. And I think you as fans are sick of it too. It hurts them personally, especially their wallet, in which he's going to lose about $1 million in salary for those 4 games. And on top of it, but it hurts his team in terms of them trying to get to the postseason and accomplish what they want, and that's getting that Super Bowl championship. Granted, Pittsburgh has 6 of them, the most in the entire league, but still, it doesn't matter how many that a team has. It's the fact that you want that Lombardi trophy, and he's hurting his team in terms of that, and he's hurting himself. Hopefully he'll learn a lesson from this. If not, well, there's a much larger suspension awaiting him if he violates it again. Ray Malaga, as I mentioned, got arrested earlier for battery assault issue at a Miami nightclub in which he was disputing a large bill. That happened, and now he was let go by the team after 8 years being with the Bengals and just this 1 year with the Dolphins. Who knows if any team will ever want to hire him again because of his hair trigger anger that he has. So he'll probably have to get anger management or spend some time in jail or pay a fine. Either way, I'm hoping Ray will learn a lesson from all this as well. It's just not right to put your hands on somebody. No matter how angry you are or what the situation is, never put your hands on another human being. Now, in the world of college football, Jim Moore became the second coach in as many weeks to be fired from a big-name program. Last week, as I mentioned, Butch Jones was let go from the University of Tennessee. This week, Jim Moore, after 6 years with the UCLA Bruins, after their pitiful 28-23 loss to crosstown rival UCLA, was let go this past Sunday. And here's the extra added caveat. It was his 56th birthday the guy was let go. Who the hell hands a pink slip to somebody on their birthday? That is incredibly messed up. Then again, as a WWE fan, I remember when CM Punk was handed a pink slip on his wedding day, which is pretty terrible. There's a thing called time and place. If you're going to fire somebody, wait till after an event like a birthday or a wedding or any significant event, not the day of. I'm just saying, UCLA, you could have done it a little better than that. And the guy was great with the team. Really, if you look at his record, with the organization, he was 46-30 with the team. Yeah, especially 29-11 in his first 3 seasons. He won 13 out of his first 20 games against ranked opponents. Ever since that happened, it was 6 straight losses against ranked teams. And the last year is losing to USC, and I think the organization has had it. He's owed about $12.36 million. Annually, $3.7 until 2021, the highest paid person in the entire state of California. They're going to have to use grants or education-deployed grants in order to pay for the rest of his contract. But this kind of opens the door for him with all those openings I mentioned with the NFL that possibly could happen. I think Jim Moore will find himself in an NFL team next year. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Cleveland. I think either Cleveland or Cincinnati could honestly use him. So, Ohio, get ready for Jim Moore. Now, this past week, actually yesterday, the NFL just announced their 27 semifinalists for the coveted Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Among the names, of course, are Roger Craig, the longtime running back for the San Francisco 49ers, responsible for 3 of those Super Bowls, with Joe Montana, 2 of them against Cincinnati. You have Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt from The Greatest Show on Turf, the St. Louis Rams, who won Super Bowl 34. Jimmy Johnson, famed NFL and college football head coach and now analyst on Fox NFL Sunday Show with the rest of the gang. Don Coryell, legendary head coach who gave us the air raid offense, and so many others. What's going to happen is the field will be whittled down to 15 finalists come January, and then February 3rd, the committee will come together and decide the night before Super Bowl 52 who will be put in the annals of football history, who will have their coveted buffs in Canton, Ohio. Good luck to these 2 gentlemen. I'm pulling for you. Now to the week that was Week 11 in the National Football League. Starting with the Arizona Cardinals going from the desert to South Texas. That's right, Houston, that is, playing the Houston Texans. And what a game to start out with. Tom Savage, of course, got a big 7-yard touchdown play to start the game to Lamar Miller. He celebrates it with a relay race with 3 of his other players because he was a former sprinter at the University of Miami, so how fitting. Then Savage, unfortunately, later gets sacked by the rookie Budda Baker of Colorado. Arizona gets the ball at their 7. They're at the Houston 17. 2 plays later, Blaine Gabbert, the new starter at quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, gets a 20-yard touchdown play to the corner of the end zone to Larry Fitzgerald. Because of that, Fitzgerald passed Tony Gonzalez for 5th most receiving yards all time. He's got about 7,000 yards to catch up with Jerry Rice. That's going to be hard to do that. At the end of the day, it was 17-14 Cardinals at one point in the game. Then the fourth quarter comes. Deonta Foreman, the rookie out of Houston, out of Texas, the Longhorns, gets a big 3-yard run in the fourth quarter. Then the 34-yard touchdown run with about 6 minutes left. The Texans beat the Cardinals 31-21. Unfortunately, what's lost for the rest of the year is Foreman and his services in the backfield. And the other thing about this game was Ricky Seals-Jones, the undrafted rookie at Texas A&M, having 2 big touchdowns for Arizona. But Blaine Gabbert is not the long-term solution for the Cardinals. And for the Texans, this is just a nice temporary victory, but I'll be honest, without Deshaun Watson, the season could be lost. Remains to be seen with 6 weeks to go. Now the Ravens go into the land of milk and dairy, Green Bay, to take on the Packers. And the Baltimore Ravens cream cheesed them to the tune of 23-0. Eric Weddle gets one of 5 turnovers on a huge interception off of Brett Hundley, along with Jimmy Smith and Marlon Humphrey, the rookie. And the big touchdown play from Joe Flacco to Mike Wallace over 2 defenders. They end up winning the game 23-0. Folks, without Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, they can't run the kind of offense they're used to at all. And for the Baltimore Ravens, and the soft schedule they got coming up, they got a chance to make noise in that wild card spot. Talking about getting creamed and all that, the Buffalo Bills, the last 3 weeks combined, giving up 135 points. Well, it was no different in this sad, pitiful performance in the City of Angels, taking on the Chargers. And what happens? Nathan Peterman, 5th-round rookie at Pittsburgh, gets his debut start, and he throws a dud. 5 interceptions in the first and only half of play he had, with 14 pass attempts, including his opening salvo, a 57-yard pick six to Corey Toomer, a 59-yard pick six to Corey Toomer, going down the right sideline to start his NFL career. In fact, the Chargers had a 27-point second quarter, and that was all she wrote. 54-24 being the end result of that game. Now, the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears in the 175th meeting of their storied NFC North rivalry in the Windy City, taking on the Chicago Bears. You got the Bears. Well, the Bears lost. It was really pitiful. Even after Tarek Cohen got a game-tying 15-yard touchdown run to make it 24-all, Matthew Stafford is able to lead them on a huge drive that leads to Matt Prater getting the 52-yard field goal with about 1:35, making it 27-24. Chicago with one last opportunity to tie the game. 4th and 19. Mitchell Trubisky, the rookie quarterback at North Carolina State, gets a big 19-yard scramble. Then a pass to Dontrell Inman for 15 yards, setting up their Connor Barth for the 46-yard field goal. Misses it wide right. Unbelievable. And that's the game, folks. The Cincinnati Bengals, Denver Broncos. The Broncos, 5 games already. They lost in a row, trying to end their skid against the Bengals, who have lost 10 straight against Denver in their history. And you're going to love this one. A.J. Green gets what amounts to the big go-ahead touchdown in the game from Andy Dalton, making it 20-10. Then Demaryius Thomas gets a huge 17-yard grab to make it 2017. Cincinnati gets the ball back at the 2-minute warning. Denver is able to force Cincinnati to punt, so Denver gets the ball back. With one last opportunity, Brock Osweiler gets sacked on 3rd down. Then on 4th and 4 at their own 26, there was an incomplete pass to Emmanuel Sanders. The ball gets turned over on downs to Cincinnati. They run out the clock. Cincinnati wins 20-17. 6 straight losses for the Denver Broncos. Longest skid in 27 years and counting. Who knows? The Jacksonville Jaguars go into Cleveland to play the winless, hapless, hopeless Cleveland Browns in the dog pound. More like the put a lunch bag over your face pound. Because honestly, if I were a Browns fan, would I want to show my face at that game? No. And they got this famed Saxonville defense who forced 5 turnovers in this game. Some big sacks on the day, including from Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue. In fact, Yannick Ngakoue sacks Deshaun Kaiser, the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, the 27th in their graveyard. Knocks the ball loose into the end zone. Telvin Smith, the linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, recovers it for basically the game-ending touchdown with 1:14. Jaguars beat up those Browns 19-7. The Philadelphia Eagles go into Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and they were able to round up some cattle. That is the entire Cowboys team that set in half to the tune of 30-0, just in that second half alone. And Carson Wentz was 2 touchdowns, 3 2-point conversions, and Jay Ajayi, 91 yards and 7 carries in his second start since being acquired from the Miami Dolphins, along with Garrett Blount's 57 on 13 carries, including a 30-yarder that led to the last offensive touchdown of the game. The Eagles destroy the Cowboys 37-9. You got to look at the situation with the Cowboys now. This is the second game in which Ezekiel Elliott is serving his 6-game suspension, so he's not going to be able to play till Christmas Eve. You don't have Tyron Smith protecting Dak Prescott's blind side. In fact, Dak had a career high in this game, just in the wrong way. He had 3 interceptions and a lost fumble to boot. And the Cowboys defense is missing Sean Lee, who is the biggest part of that front 7. And when you have a questionable secondary without your stalwart linebacker, things are going to go haywire, and it did. And for the Eagles, the season of success is continuing. 8 straight wins they've had, which ties to the current longest run with the New Orleans Saints. Carson Wentz, 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's really making a case for that MVP award and for the Eagles to maybe win that elusive Super Bowl title. The last time they appeared in the Super Bowl was against the Patriots. Who knows? Maybe we could see another Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. Remains to be seen. We got 6 weeks left of the season. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs go into New York to play against the Giants, and they're thinking to themselves, well, we're Kansas City. We're coming off the bye. Andy Reid's our coach, who is record-wise with Philadelphia and Kansas City, 16-2 coming off the bye week. We have a much better offense than what the Giants have. Our defense should be able to infuriate Eli Manning into making mistakes. Yeah, they go in with that thinking, and the complete, utter opposite takes place. Instead, Kansas City becomes the team that the Giants have been this year. Inept on offense, turning the ball over at the worst possible moments. They can't run the ball very well. The only bit of good offense they had was on that last drive to force overtime. Other than that, it was really just sad. You look at the interception with 1:38 that Alex Smith threw to Janoris Jenkins. That cost him heavily. They couldn't do anything with the first offensive drive in overtime. But my favorite moment was the Giants' first possession in overtime, in which Eli Manning throws a big 4th down pass for 34 yards to Roger Lewis Jr., flat on his back. Even if Roger Lewis didn't make that catch, the Chiefs are still going to be called for defensive pass interference. So the Giants, either way, were getting the football, which led to the game-winning 23-yard field goal by Aldrick Rosas. Giants win 12-9, ending their 3-game skid. The Chiefs have now lost 4 out of their last 5. It's really just a pitiful time and really sad to look at a Chiefs team that started 5-0, Kareem Hunt leading the league in rushing yards, and I think he still is, and is trying to make a case for Rookie of the Year in the AFC offensively, but it's pretty offensive what I saw from him in that Chiefs team. This was the worst performance I've seen from Alex Smith all year, who went into the game with only 1 interception, came out with an additional 2 interceptions, more than any game this year. Get it together, Kansas City, if you want to have a chance of winning that AFC West crown, which they still lead. It's an open division. Anybody can win it. Now, the Rams, going into Minnesota, the team with the highest amount of points in the league at 32.9 per game against the Vikings, who are now leading the NFC North. And the Vikings have been a surprise. They really have been a very good surprise on us, especially Case Keenum, who for many years, if you ask people around the league or anybody that's a football fan who's watched Case Keenum, he was a backup. And he was with the Rams last year as the backup to Jared Goff. So it was kind of apropos for him to be in this game as the featured starting quarterback against his former team. And he showed them why he should have never been benched by LA with this 280-yard performance with no turnovers, a passer rating north of 100, and a huge day from Adam Thielen, who had over 123 yards on 6 receptions. My favorite play was this 65-yard pass from him, from Case Keenum to Adam Thielen, in which he does his crazy curl route, which if you sort of like a weird semicircle straight to the end zone, past the cornerback for the Rams, Dominique Hatfield, along the Vikings defense causing a big fumble with about 4:03 left in the first half that turned the game on its head for the Rams. The Rams lost 24-7. The Vikings are one of the greatest stories, and the Rams are too. The biggest surprises of the year, besides the Jaguars. So any one of these teams could be in the Super Bowl, and Minnesota could be the first team to play in the Super Bowl in their own stadium. No host team in NFL history has played in the Super Bowl. That's the only barrier left for the Super Bowl. Maybe it'll be broken by the Vikings. Now for the Buccaneers and the Miami Dolphins. This was the game that was scheduled originally for Week 1 of the 2017 season in Miami. However, as we all know, the devastating hurricane that was Irma took place during that time. So the NFL, for the safety of the fans and law enforcement to be able to do their job, as well as emergency workers, they had to cancel this game and postpone it to Week 11, which was the week both these teams had a bye. So thankfully, they were able to get this game underway, and that the people in Miami were able to get the needed services they needed Week 1. And my prayers and thoughts are with the people who are still been affected by that hurricane, Maria and Harvey. Of course, hopefully, that this holiday season that there's some solvency with their lives, that they've gotten the help that they needed. And all right, as for this particular game, the Buccaneers and the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins got screwed royally by the officiating crew. If you look at the play with Fitzpatrick, he was tackled in the end zone. That should have been a safety by the referees. It wasn't, and the referees admitted they made a mistake. This is one of 3 big mistakes in terms of safeties that the refs have made on the season that have hurt games. The Miami Dolphins, though, despite the fact that Jay Cutler, their quarterback, had 3 interceptions, got concussed, was taken out of the game, Matt Moore comes in, and he's able to get the team back into contention this game with a big 61-yard game-tying touchdown to Kenny Stills, who, by the way, Kenny Stills had 7 catches, 180 yards in that game. Jarvis Landry had 6 catches and 95 yards. But at the end of the day, Fitzpatrick and company were able to get the game-winning field goal from Patrick Murray with 35 yards out with 4 ticks on the clock. And to boot, the most embarrassing special teams turnover, Adarius Glenn gets a bonus touchdown off a crappy, excusable lateral passing play by the Dolphins. Dolphins lose 30-20. That's 4 straight losses for the Dolphins. That's 2 straight wins for the Bucs, but in both their cases, well, in the Buccaneers' case, it was against very scrub teams. So when they play a really good team, I'm sorry, I know I just said the Jets were scrub, but they were scrubs in that game against the Buccaneers. And so were the Dolphins. in this particular contest, at the end. But at least the Dolphins tried to fight back. And Matt Moore,